Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting radio-exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
Hi, this is Mike Ferguson.
And this is Mike Morford, and we want to tell you about our true crime podcast, Criminology.
Launched in 2017, we've covered every kind of case you can imagine, from puzzling missing persons cases to mysterious murders.
Some of the cases we cover are the biggest in true crime history, or they're high-profile cases that are currently making headlines, while some of the cases are fascinating ones you likely haven't heard of.
We cover both solved and unsolved cases, and we have 300 episodes available to binge on right now, including full seasons on the Zodiac Killer, the Golden State Killer, and Ted Bundy.
You can listen to Criminology on your favorite player or app, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.
You're listening to Missing Persons, brought to you by AbJack Entertainment. Be sure to check out some of the other great true crime podcasts from this network, including The Murder in My Family, DNA ID, Zodiac Speaking, Scene of the Crime,
Beyond Bizarre True Crime,
Citizen Detective,
and Campus Killings.
all of these podcasts are available for you to binge on right now, wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe where you're listening to this podcast so you don't miss an episode.
The views and opinions expressed by guests on this podcast do not necessarily represent those of the podcast, its creators, or sponsors. If you would like to discuss a missing persons case on this podcast, please be sure to visit missingpersonspodcast.net. This episode may contain unsettling or disturbing subject matter. Listener discretion is advised.
If you'd like to support Missing Persons and get VIP access to things like ad-free listening, early preview episodes, and bonus content of not only this show, but for every other podcast on the AbJack network of indie podcasts, consider subscribing to the show with an AbJack Insider subscription through Apple Podcast. For only $4.99 a month or $49.99 a year, you'll unlock a variety of listener benefits, and you'll be supporting the show in the process. Your support is greatly appreciated.
Welcome to Missing Persons, a podcast dedicated to spreading the word about people who have vanished under mysterious or unexplained circumstances and the family members who are looking for answers. I'm Jess Betancourt.
And I'm Mike Morford. Together, we created this podcast to help give a voice to people who continue to search for their missing loved ones. In some cases, even after decades have gone by. In each episode, you'll hear from Jess giving listeners the backstory and the basic facts of the disappearance.
Then Mike will speak with someone who's intimately connected to the missing person, and his guest will share their story with us. So sit back and enjoy this episode, and who knows, maybe you can help us find someone who's missing. Gregory Gilbert Treace is a 50-year-old Tulsa, Oklahoma man who was last seen on July 23rd to 24th, 2022. Greg is married to Billie Treace. Billie is our guest today. Greg was not working at the time of his disappearance. He is suffering from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and relies on treatment and medication to manage his illness. He and Billie have 2 young children, Everly and Logan, who do not understand where their father has gone. At the time of Greg's disappearance, Greg and Billie were living together but were officially separated and had separate bedrooms. On the evening of Saturday, July 23rd, Greg left the house with his brother and his brother's girlfriend. Their plan was to go night fishing. Around 10:30 p.m., Greg took his fishing poles and said he would be back later. The trio left in Greg's car. but he didn't come back. Billie didn't really worry until Monday, when Greg hadn't come home and she had to go to work. Billie spent the next several days looking for Greg. She called over to Greg's mom's house, where she knew her brother-in-law, Greg's brother, lived, on the large 10-acre property. When she got her brother-in-law on the phone, he told her that Greg had been at their mom's house and he and Greg got into an argument. The brothers said it was the biggest argument they'd ever had, and it involved accusations that Greg was flirting with the brother's girlfriend. The brother-in-law said Greg and the brother's girlfriend left the mom's house in Greg's car to go to a hotel, and he hadn't seen Greg since. This story was not really believable, but Billie drove around to the motel and other motels looking for Greg's car. She never found it. On Wednesday, Greg was scheduled to have a medical scan, but he was a no-show. This was very concerning as the scan was important to his cancer treatment. That day, Billie reported Greg missing to the Tulsa Police Department. Soon thereafter, the Jenks police contacted Billie and informed her that they had Greg's car in their possession. It had been broken down on the side of the road, about 10 miles from his home, and they had it towed on Saturday night or early Sunday morning. The realization that Greg had not left in his car, as the brother-in-law alleged, alarmed Billie and alerted the police that something was truly wrong. Then, Greg's brother's girlfriend called Billie. She told the worried wife that after the three left Greg's house on Saturday night, Greg's car had broken down. They walked to a local Quick Trip where Greg's brother and Greg got into an argument and the brother-in-law left. Greg and Greg's brother's girlfriend found some food, and eventually a male friend of the girlfriend's picked them up and drove them each home. He dropped off the girlfriend first and then drove up the road toward Greg's mom's house, where they ran into the brother walking. Greg told the male driver just to let him out, he would deal with his brother, who seemed angry. Greg got out and started walking toward his mom's house. This was the last sighting of Greg by a non-family member near his mother's house, proximate to 193rd West Avenue and 209th West Avenue in Sapulga in Creek County. The Jenks police gathered ring and surveillance camera footage and confirmed that Greg, his brother, and the brother's girlfriend got out of the broken-down car and set out on foot together. At that point, they contacted the Creek County Sheriff's Office, which sent deputies to Greg's mom's house to speak with the brother. They were told that Greg left with the brother's girlfriend, and there was no sign of Greg anywhere. Billie confronted her brother-in-law, demanding answers, but he stuck to his story that Greg had left on Sunday with his girlfriend, a story that she knew was untrue. She took it upon herself, with some friends and Greg's sister, to search the Sapulga property. Near a functioning RV on the property, they located Greg's shorts, belt, and shoes. They were unable to find Greg's shirt, boxers, wallet, phone, keys, or prescription bottle of medication. Billie also observed a large burned area that had not been there just 2 days earlier. Creek County Sheriff's investigators questioned Greg's brother, who admitted that Greg had been there. They had argued, and Greg had left. The CCSO launched searches for Greg on his mother's property and the surrounding property owned by neighbors, using drones, scent and cadaver dogs, and foot searchers. They collected the shorts and shoes found on his mother's property as well. But those are the only traces of Greg they were able to find. They know that Greg was last seen at his mother and brother's house. Greg's brother told them that Greg was on the porch at the house, the two argued, and the brother went to work on the property, and Greg left, and he never saw him again. Police also located a text from Greg's mother, who was bedridden. She had texted some friends on Sunday afternoon telling them that the boys are fighting and it's getting out of hand. And no one has seen Greg since then. Greg has not been in contact with his family, which is extremely out of character for him. He missed a scheduled medical procedure scheduled for that week and has not refilled his pain medication. His brother, the one who claims Greg left on his own, was sentenced to 5 years in prison for domestic assault and battery just months after Greg vanished. The person he attacked was the girlfriend whom he alleged Greg left with. Greg is a white male with very close-cropped gray hair and blue eyes. He is 6 foot 3 inches tall and weighs 250 pounds. He has a port for chemotherapy treatment. He has a tattoo on his left chest that reads Kyra and Sway. Mike Morford sat down with Billie Treace, Greg's wife, to have a conversation about her husband's disappearance. That conversation's coming up after a word from our sponsors.
When it comes to Father's Day, some things never change. Dads want steak. And the experts at Omaha Steaks are making it easy for you to deliver uncompromising quality with gifts that are sure to make his day. Plus, get an extra $35 off with code THANKSDAD when you shop omahasteaks.com today. We know, being your dad means he already has everything he could want. But just picture the look on his face when he sees those extra-aged USDA-certified tender steaks, juicy air-chilled chicken, beefy burgers, and more. With carefully curated gift packages from America's original butcher, it's never been easier to show everyone why you're dad's favorite. And every bite is 100% guaranteed to bring a thrill to the king of the grill. Shop now at omahasteaks.com and get an extra $35 off with code THANKSDAD. But don't wait. Father's Day is June 15th. Minimum purchase may apply. See site for details.
This podcast is supported by Talkspace.
When my husband came home from his military deployment, readjusting was hard for all of us. Thankfully, I found Talkspace.
Talkspace provides professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatric providers online. Military members, veterans, and their dependents ages 13 and older can get fast access to providers, all from the privacy of their computers or smartphones.
I just answered a few questions online, and Talkspace matched me with a therapist. We meet when it's convenient for me, and I can message her anytime. It was so easy to set up, and they accept TRICARE. Therapy was going so well, my husband and I started seeing a couples therapist through Talkspace too.
Talkspace works with most major insurers, including TRICARE. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com/military. Go to Talkspace.com/military to get started today. That's Talkspace.com/military.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting radio-exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
Hi, Billie. Thank you for coming on Missing Persons to discuss your husband Gregory's case.
Hello. It's nice to speak with you, Mike. I appreciate you taking the time to share his case today.
Well, thank you for coming on, and we're going to help you get the word out that he's officially missing and unaccounted for, and you want to find out what happened to him. Your family deserves that. I know you have children and want to find out the truth about what happened. Before we get into the details surrounding your husband's disappearance, can you tell us a little bit about Greg himself and what he's like and what you miss about him?
Sure, absolutely. So I knew Greg for over 20 years. We started out as friends before we ended up in a relationship together. We have 2 children together that are 7 and 12. And our 7-year-old, she's daddy's girl, so that's been hard, but she misses him very much and still talks about him every day. He, liked to go fishing, go outdoors, camping. Sometimes with a family, we were fortunate enough to go on a camping trip the weekend before he disappeared. We did have some struggles the last few years before he went missing with his health. He was going through a battle with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which was stage 4. He had gone through chemo treatments for several years, and then a stem cell transplant, which he spent a month in the hospital with that, and made him very weak. After the stem cell transplant, he did end up getting COVID, because that was during the height of COVID. And that caused some breathing issues, things like that. He did end up a few months later on a ventilator for a few days. So, there was definitely some health issues at the time of his disappearance he was still dealing with. That's always been in my mind on what could have happened. But he, mostly was just a family man. We spent a lot of time, watching TV, of course. He liked music, but he wasn't somebody that would ever just disappear. He's not somebody that has the resources to be able to disappear without, there being a trail of him somewhere. We're a low income family, so that's not something that he would have been able to fall back on. He was receiving disability because of his cancer. And of course, that's something that's never been, they've never received contact from him, to say, here, send my payments here. Medication that he took daily for his pain, never refilled. So things like that. Yeah.
So, obviously a cancer diagnosis, going through that is a tremendous battle for anyone. How was he doing with the cancer itself? Was his treatments making a difference in it? Was he getting better at all?
He had some improvement the previous year, but in his most recent scans, the cancer activity had returned. And so we had found some new active tumors, and he was supposed to go in the week he went missing for additional testing to determine, next steps.
What was his, did he have an outlook or any official prognosis at that point?
No, and then, it's never with his case where like, okay, you have 5 years or, anything like that. It was just, let's just do everything we can to try to beat this. He'd done 3 different types of chemo lines of treatment already that, had some success, but the problem at that point with it being recurring is that, it could continue to be an ongoing, long time struggle for him.
So this is obviously going to be a challenging time for him, battling this and, trying to stay positive, I'm sure, for your family and the kids and everything. Was there anything going on in general in his life, as far as any problems with anyone, any issues that he had with anybody?
So, and this is something I always want to be very open with from the front. We were having difficulties in our marriage. I, at the time considered us separated. We had separate bedrooms. So he, of course, still needed a lot of help due to his health issues. And I needed somebody to help watch the kids while I was at work. So he would do that. Still a good friendship relationship. But, unfortunately, when you go through the cancer treatments and stuff, it can cause you to have, some problems in your marriage and change your attitude. And so that was going on. And that was part of the reason why he was not reported missing right away, because the original story I was given by the person he was with is that he had left, I knew he had left to go on night fishing. When he didn't return the next day, I was told he was with another female. So that's why I didn't immediately go out and report him missing, because I didn't want to be, that like, I'm not jealous wife reporting you missing because you're out with another woman. I did not know at the time several things that later, led me to feel like something bad had actually happened to him. And he was never actually with another female.
So it's sort of like because of your situation, because you're sort of separated but living together, it's not like, a situation where he was due home at 5 o'clock one day after work and just never showed up. This was sort of, you're sort of separated and he's also doing stuff with other people, so you didn't really maybe understand that he was missing right away. And I would assume that had you known that, you probably would have been a little bit more concerned earlier.
Yes, absolutely. So he had left on a Saturday night. He'd come in and gotten his fishing poles around 10:30 that evening, and told me he was going night fishing with his brother and his brother's girlfriend. They left the house, and then Sunday he didn't return all day. By Monday morning, I have to go to work, and I haven't heard from him. And of course, I'd reached out Sunday and never heard back. So that's, when I start calling, his brother, other family members, trying to locate him, because it was just, it wouldn't be like him to not return home and let me miss work, because he knows, that's our income. And I'm somebody that tries to go to work every day.
So once you do realize that, hey, he's missing, what happened at that point? Did you immediately go to the police, or did you start making calls and say, hey, where's Greg at?
Sure, absolutely. So by Monday morning, I've now had to call into work because he hasn't come home. So I've calling out. His brother was living with their mom. And so I called, his brother didn't have a phone. I called out to their mom's phone. That's when I spoke with the brother. He answered, and he told me how mad he was at my husband, that they had gotten in the biggest fight that they'd ever gotten into, that they had been back at the mom's house, that my husband was flirting with the brother's girlfriend the whole time, and that my husband and the girlfriend had left in my husband's car to go to a hotel together. So this immediately, kind of threw me off, like, okay, well, I guess this is what he's decided to do. This is very out of character that he would do it in this way. But I understand during, separations, people can do that. So I didn't do anything that day as far as looking for him. I'm sorry, that's not true. I did go. I actually drove to the hotel that his brother told me that they would be at, looking for the car. So I drove by that hotel. There was nobody there. I drove by a couple other hotels in the area, never saw his car. And so then I did go home. The following day, I went to work. I was able to get another babysitter. I went to work all day. Still haven't heard anything. I tried to reach out again to the mom and the brother. Their mom had significant health issues at this point and was bedridden, and she suffered a stroke. So there was some, cognitive issues there too. So she was hard to communicate with, but nobody's answering. So Tuesday evening, I drive out to their mom's house, which is about 25 minutes from mine. It's out in a rural part of Sapulga, Oklahoma. The mom's truck, which is what the brother would have been driving, wasn't there at the time. I knew the mom would be, in bed. I didn't go bother her, but I did holler out trying to get the brother's attention in case he was there. I never got anybody to come out, and the car was there, so I assumed he was gone. There is an RV that was on the mom's property. Their dad, who passed away the previous year, lived in that RV prior to his death. It was still hooked up with electricity and water and all that. So it was pulled out further in the yard. Mom has 10 acres of land out there. I noticed that the air conditioning was running out there. So I did go bang on the door to the RV, just thinking maybe Greg was in there. I hollered out, Greg, Greg. Nobody ever came. So I left the house. I went to the campground that was near their house and drove around just in case Greg was at the campground, looking for his car. So the next morning is my day off of work. So that's the morning that I decided it's a concern. Also, this is the day when he was supposed to have the medical scan done, and he didn't show up for that. So I reported him missing to the Tulsa Police Department where we live. And shortly after that, the Jinx Police Department, which is the small town next to us, they actually contacted my employer, who reached out to me, and they said, we have his car. It's actually been broke down since Saturday night. It's been broke down the whole time. So that was really the point that I was like, something's wrong. Okay, I thought he was gone in the car the whole time. That's what I was told. That's what I've been looking for. But the car broke down right after he left my house, not 10 miles away.
When it comes to Father's Day, some things never change. Dads want steak. And the experts at Omaha Steaks are making it easy for you to deliver uncompromising quality with gifts that are sure to make his day. Plus, get an extra $35 off with code THANKSDAD when you shop omahasteaks.com today. We know, being your dad means he already has everything he could want. But just picture the look on his face when he sees those extra-aged USDA-certified tender steaks, juicy air-chilled chicken, beefy burgers, and more. With carefully curated gift packages from America's original butcher, it's never been easier to show everyone why you're dad's favorite. And every bite is 100% guaranteed to bring a thrill to the king of the grill. Shop now at omahasteaks.com and get an extra $35 off with code THANKSDAD. But don't wait. Father's Day is June 15th. Minimum purchase may apply. See site for details.
This podcast is supported by Talkspace.
When my husband came home from his military deployment, readjusting was hard for all of us. Thankfully, I found Talkspace.
Talkspace provides professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatric providers online. Military members, veterans, and their dependents ages 13 and older can get fast access to providers, all from the privacy of their computers or smartphones.
I just answered a few questions online, and Talkspace matched me with a therapist. We meet when it's convenient for me, and I can message her anytime. It was so easy to set up, and they accept TRICARE. Therapy was going so well, my husband and I started seeing a couples therapist through Talkspace too.
Talkspace works with most major insurers, including TRICARE. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com/military. Go to Talkspace.com/military to get started today. That's Talkspace.com/military.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting radio-exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
Jinx Police Department was amazing. They flew drones around that area. The whole time that the car had been broke down, it was on ring cameras of a few houses. So they reviewed that footage. They were able to see that Greg was with his brother and the brother's girlfriend, and that they had taken off walking on foot. So I let I believe they contacted the Creek County Police Department at that point, and I had contacted them as well, because that is where the mom's house is in Sapulga. So at that point, let's see. So now it's Wednesday, and I haven't heard anything. I've made the police reports. They've sent out police to the mom's house, just kind of looking for them. They were, from what I understand, the police were initially told that Greg had left with the girlfriend and was most likely at the brother's girlfriend's house. So they went to the brother's girlfriend's house. Greg is not there, never was there, never was with her, never went to a hotel, nothing like that. This is when that girl reaches out to me. I had never met her before this point, but she reached out to me and she wanted to let me know what happened that day. And so what I was told from her is they had broke down and they had walked to a gas station a few miles down the road, trying to get help, trying to get someone to come and get them. I believe Greg maybe didn't reach out to me because he knew I would be mad, because I had told him it probably wasn't a good idea to go out that night so late. He was having issues with his tire and I was afraid it was going to blow. And so I had expressed my frustration to him about him going out like that. So I think that's why he never called me for help that night. And then I guess they got in an argument. This is what the girlfriends told me, with the brother, and he, who has, from my experiences, had drug issues, and so I don't know if that was contributing to part of the frustration with him. But they ended up getting into an argument at the Quick Trip gas station. The brother left them at that point, so now it's just Greg and the brother's girlfriend together at the gas station. They are still trying to get a ride, aren't able to reach anybody because it's the middle of the night. So they ended up taking off, walking a bit further, walked a few more miles down the road to a restaurant. By this point, it's morning. They stop. She goes ahead and buys him a meal because he had lost his debit card. He didn't even have any money on him, Greg. So they had that meal at the restaurant Sapulga. At that point, she heard back from somebody she had tried to contact for a ride. A male friend of hers came and picked them up from the restaurant, and Greg and the brother's girlfriend got a ride back towards the mom's house. The girlfriend lived one road over from my mother-in-law. She was dropped off first. I spoke with this male friend. He told me after he dropped off the girlfriend, he continued on the gravel road that runs behind my mother-in-law's property. And that's when they ran into my husband's brother walking. The male friend, he told me that my brother-in-law was cussing and yelling when he saw Greg, and that this driver, he felt so fearful. He said he kept a baseball bat behind his driver's seat. He went ahead and grabbed it and just sat it on his lap just in case. My husband, Greg, saw that and was like, no, we don't need problems. Let me just get out and I'll deal with my brother. And so Greg got out of the truck at that point. This gentleman, went on home, and Greg proceeds to walk back to the mom's house. So I find this out on Wednesday. At this point, I know that my original story I was given about Greg leaving in the car is not true. So Thursday evening, I go out to the mom's house, and that's when I do speak with Greg's brother again. And this conversation, I'm like, hey, I know the car's broke down. I know he was here. Like, I need you to tell me what happened. We need to try to figure out what happened, because I'm worried he's maybe had a medical incident or something like that. And he wouldn't entertain the idea that could have happened, which I'm like, this man has cancer and breathing issues. Who's to say he couldn't have taken off walking and collapsed? He's had a heart attack in the past. But he just would not entertain that, which I didn't understand. He's just like, no, he's at the girl's house. He's at the girl's house. And I'm like, I've talked to her. He's not there. The police have been there. He's not there. Also, while I was at the house that evening, I noticed there was several acres of burned area that was not there on the Tuesday before. So I asked about that, and he said that he was burning some stuff and it got out of hand. So apparently the fire was on that Wednesday. And of the 10 acres she has, I think probably about 3 acres of it was affected, but it did start in a large pile behind their house. We did find a shovel that had been burned up in there. You know, and that pile has been searched by the law enforcement. But it was just it was odd. So I did record him in our conversation, and I sent that to the police department. And at that point, you know, he's admitting that Greg had ended up back at the mom's house. They had walked back up from the back road. The neighbor has a dirt road cut through on their property that ends at the mom's driveway. So they had gone up that dirt road to the mom's house, and he said that they were, you know, arguing, and he was irritated with Greg. So Greg was on the mom's porch. It's the last time he saw him. He got irritated. He went to the back side of the property to do some work. And when he returned, he said Greg was gone. And he never saw him again. So the following Saturday, I had a chance to get a few people together, my husband's sister and her friend, as well as my friend, and we decided to just start like walking the area. And so my sister-in-law and her friend, we dropped them off down at the bottom part of the property, and he doesn't know that she's with us. Me and my friend go to the house, and as soon as I get there, my brother-in-law says, "Hey, I got a hot lead on where Greg's at. Come on, give me a ride." So we get in the car, and we go on the other side of the rural highway over there a few miles, and he's looking for a place that he says that Greg's at. And he can't find the house that he's looking for. And so, you know, we keep turning around and going back. And then I realized that the house he's trying to take me to is the house owned by that male friend of the girlfriend that had given them a ride from the restaurant to, you know, out by their mom's house. And so I'm like, I've already talked to this guy. Greg is not there. He doesn't know Greg. Greg has no reason to be there. He's not hiding Greg out. And I'm just starting to feel fearful at this point, because he got hostile with me when I said that. And I just immediately turn around and start going back to the house because I don't want to be alone in the car with him anymore. By the time we get to the house, he's like, "You need to leave. You need to leave." And I'm like, "I'm not leaving. We're going to look for Greg. I think something bad has happened." And no, he's with the girlfriend. He's with the girlfriend. And then he tells me that he's going to get a gun, and he goes in the house where the guns are. And so I did call the police department at that point, and let them know what was going on. In the meantime, my friend and my sister-in-law and her friend had been searching the property, and I start walking around while we're waiting. And we get over by where the RV was. There's a bench, and my friend finds a pair of shorts, and she says, "Are these Greg's?" And I go over there, and they are. They're the pair of jean shorts with his belt that he left the house in that night. And so then my sister-in-law's friend opens the RV door, and right inside the door was a pair of shoes. And she said, are these his shoes? And they were. So that was really, for me, the moment. Greg, with all the health issues that he had really suffered with neuropathy because of the chemo. His feet hurt a lot. But oftentimes I'd see him sleep with shoes on just because the pressure kind of helped the pain, I think. So I knew there was no way he was out walking gravel roads without these shoes. So we did not find his wallet, his phone, his keys, or his prescription bottle of pain pills that he had with him. But we did find the shoes and the shorts at the house there. His brother has continued to tell me and the authorities that those aren't his, that they are another man that had been staying at the property previously. But the authorities did take them into evidence. I bought them. I know that they are his. So that was really, like I said, the moment that I felt like he was deceased and that the brother had done something possibly, just because I'm all of the story changes. That's the last person that had seen him. I later find out that my mother-in-law, who was at the home at the time, but like I said, who did experience cognitive issues from a stroke, would have been in a back bedroom. She had texted some friends of my brother-in-law that had been staying in the RV. She said, the boys are fighting. It's getting out of hand. Where are you? We do have that confirmed by the authorities that they recovered that text message my mother-in-law sent on that Sunday afternoon. And that, would have been the last time he was seen by anybody.
When it comes to Father's Day, some things never change. Dads want steak. And the experts at Omaha Steaks are making it easy for you to deliver uncompromising quality with gifts that are sure to make his day. Plus, get an extra $35 off with code THANKSDAD when you shop omahasteaks.com today. We know, being your dad means he already has everything he could want. But just picture the look on his face when he sees those extra-aged USDA-certified tender steaks, juicy air-chilled chicken, beefy burgers, and more. With carefully curated gift packages from America's original butcher, it's never been easier to show everyone why you're dad's favorite. And every bite is 100% guaranteed to bring a thrill to the king of the grill. Shop now at omahasteaks.com and get an extra $35 off with code THANKSDAD. But don't wait. Father's Day is June 15th. Minimum purchase may apply. See site for details.
This podcast is supported by Talkspace.
When my husband came home from his military deployment, readjusting was hard for all of us. Thankfully, I found Talkspace.
Talkspace provides professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatric providers online. Military members, veterans, and their dependents ages 13 and older can get fast access to providers, all from the privacy of their computers or smartphones.
I just answered a few questions online, and Talkspace matched me with a therapist. We meet when it's convenient for me, and I can message her anytime. It was so easy to set up, and they accept TRICARE. Therapy was going so well, my husband and I started seeing a couples therapist through Talkspace, too.
Talkspace works with most major insurers, including TRICARE. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com/military. Go to Talkspace.com/military to get started today. That's Talkspace.com/military.
This podcast is sponsored by Ramp. Look, there's feelings and then there's the facts. If you're feeling like your finance team is bogged down in mundane manual tasks, the fact is you need Ramp. Ramp is the corporate card that makes the expense process fast and easy. The moment your team makes a purchase, Ramp handles everything. Receipt collection and approvals, the works. With Ramp, you can cut your month-end close from 5 days to 1, customize approval workflows, and get complete control over every transaction. Facts. Over 25,000 businesses trust Ramp, including Shopify and the Boys & Girls Club of America, which is why they were just named #1 in spend management by G2. Facts. Start using Ramp and you'll have more time to spend scaling your business. and that'll feel really good. Upgrade to Ramp for free today and get $250 at ramp.com. That's ramp.com. ramp.com.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
This is very, compelling that you have, two witnesses, your brother-in-law's girlfriend, the guy that dropped him off, saying, okay, he's made it back to his mom's house where he was last seen by his brother. And then you have the brother that's been changing all these stories. So it does seem pretty, damning against him. And you mentioned that the police have had some interaction with him. Have they put him in for a hardcore interrogation, and has he cooperated fully? Do you know?
Yes, he has cooperated. I believe that he has admitted to them that Greg was at the house there, the mom's house, and that the last time that he had seen him, he was on the porch and he went to the back side of the property, and when he came back, he was gone. So that's the final story I believe he's landed on with the authorities. That's the conversation that I had recorded, which he knows that now. He did end up continuing a relationship with that girlfriend, which if you think that your brother is living with a girl, seems odd you would continue dating her.
Yeah, and her for him too, because he's made the story up that your husband went to a hotel with her. It seems odd that she would want to stay with him after saying that lie.
Yeah, and they ended up in an altercation, a physical altercation. He did attack her and has been in jail. He was charged with assault and battery with a deadly weapon, received a 5-year sentence. So about a month after Greg disappeared, he was arrested for that and has been in jail since. Although my understanding is he's likely to be released soon.
So I know there were different searches done. Obviously, it sounds like you guys were running around just hoping to look different places, finding them. But I know they also use drones, cadaver dogs, that kind of stuff. Was there anything else found related to Greg in any of those searches?
No, there was not. So we've had cadaver dogs out there several times. I know the Creek County Sheriff's Department has had them out there multiple times searching my mother-in-law's property as well as several of the neighboring properties. I have had a private organization help me as well. Jathan Hunt with Hunt Investigations has been amazing. Brought his cadaver dogs out and searched with me. Of course, we've had several, personal searches. My sister-in-law was amazing out there with me, plenty searching, but it does get hard. We have neighbors that have 200 acres and we have other neighbors that have 400 acres. And, so it's just overwhelming. It's very rural, hills, trees, rocks. They did fly the drones, and haven't been able to find anything. The dogs never really hit on anything. So there's no obvious signs of a murder being committed there. Like I said, Greg had breathing issues. I just feel like there could have been maybe a strangulation that we wouldn't necessarily pick up on, with the dogs. It wouldn't, with him being on a ventilator in a coma for 3 days. He had a lot of damage. He just would have been somebody that wouldn't have taken a lot, maybe to, if he was strangled or something like that, that would have restricted his breathing.
Okay. And there was one reported sighting that I read about. This was somewhere in the neighborhood of 193rd Road and 209th West Avenue. Is that a credible sighting, or is that maybe some of the information about him, when he was doing these different movements before he was officially missing?
I think that might be where he's considered last seen on the road where that gentleman friend dropped him off at. I believe
Okay.
that's the location.
Okay. So we know, according to him that dropped him off, he's last seen with your brother. Your brother breaks down, tells the police that yes, he did see your brother at the house, but then he disappeared from the house. So one way or another, his brother is the one who is last known to have seen Greg.
Yes, and we also have that confirmation from their mom, both of their moms, saying that they were there and fighting. The boys are fighting. It's getting out of hand.
Okay. And I just want to go back to, you said a few things had been missing. And I just want to make sure they weren't found. They were the phone, wallet, and keys of Greg. Is that correct?
Yeah, we've never been able to locate any of those other items that he had on. We weren't able to locate the shirt he was wearing, so I assume maybe he still had that on. It is rural out there. The shorts he was wearing were considerably large for him. He had lost about 100 pounds during the cancer battle because he was an overweight guy before. I don't know why he was wearing those shorts, because I remember saying, "Why are you wearing those? They're so big." And he had the belt, clinched as tight as he could to keep them on. And so I've always just thought, after walking all night and then being so heavy, that's why he maybe took his shorts off, and he would have still had his boxers on, which wouldn't have been a big deal for you if you're out in the country. And I thought maybe he went in that RV because, for one thing, this is the end of July in Oklahoma. It was over 100 degrees for several weeks at this time. It's hot. The mom's house had terrible air conditioning. It's always 90 degrees in her house. So I felt like maybe he went to the RV, took his shorts off to get more comfortable, took his shoes off, and sat in there on the couch and to cool off. And that's where something happened, maybe.
Do you know if they ever tried to ping his phone or track his phone movements?
Yes, we weren't successful at all.
Okay. So basically there's, after this, it doesn't seem like there's a lot to go on besides Greg being seen with his brother and then this mysteriously vanishing. And sometimes obviously we know that the last person seen with a missing person, especially, if their story is wishy-washy, they can sometimes be a suspect potentially. So it seems like there's a lot here to think that. But just looking at any other possibilities, not just locking in on that, I'm just curious, some people might ask the question, could Greg have been, depressed over his illness and taken his own life or harmed himself, something along those lines? Is that any kind of possibility in your eyes in this case?
Sure. I'm one of those people that believe that is always a possibility. I've seen situations where it's somebody that you would never think would do that, and they have. So I absolutely would not rule that out, just because, he was going through a hard time, and he was tired of the cancer battle, I'm sure. We were having our problems. So it was not a perfect time in his life. But then it's, well, where is he? We haven't found him. He didn't have any weapons with him. He also, his dad had taken his own life the year before. So he did know the impact on the loved ones and what that situation does. So I think that it would make him less likely to do that with our children. But again, I was saying to my brother-in-law, we need to try to look for him because there could be a medical issue. That was my very first thought was, he's taken off walking and he's had another heart attack or some type of medical incident in this heat. But with so many searches out there, he's not been found. So you can't hide yourself.
Yeah. It's one thing if you take your own life, but then it's another thing to make yourself disappear in the process, and not be recovered despite all these different searches and stuff.
Yes. And then also with the shoes being recovered, if he was to decide he's going to go out in the woods and take his own life, he's not going to go barefoot. I mean, I can't imagine with gravel and rocks and trees and all that. I mean, even if you're going to end your life, I think you'd probably wear shoes.
Yeah. So, you've mentioned it earlier. I think you've said that you suspect that your husband is not alive, and that you suspect that he's deceased. And just correct me if I'm wrong about that, but that's the what I understood. So if that's the case, and there's a chance to see that person responsible brought to justice and know maybe the whereabouts of Greg's remains, would you be open to some kind of plea deal where this, the person that may have done something to him, maybe doesn't get as harsh a sentence, but gives you some kind of answers and lets you know where Greg's remains are?
I would, and I hate to say that because I don't feel like, if somebody has done this to him and to our family, that they deserve any kind of leniency. But when you have a loved one that is missing, it's something that you think about every single day, and you don't have a resolution and you don't have closure, and you feel like you have to be doing something to try to find them always. And it's the worst possible thing that anybody can go through. I would not wish this on anyone short of, maybe losing your child. So yes, just to end this, I would, if he would tell us where his remains are, so that we could have some closure, that my, children can have some closure and move on, that we can have a place to, honor him. We did end up having a memorial service for him on the 1-year anniversary of his disappearance. But it's different, when you've had a loved one you believe has passed away, but you don't have the remains. You don't get the bereavement time at your employer. You don't get, nobody sends you plants. Nobody, and it's like those things don't matter, but they do. You don't get that recognition that you've lost your spouse and you've gone through this awful thing. So, just to have that closure, we, of course, with his health issues, we knew there was a chance he could pass away. We had life insurance in place through my employer for him. That's something that I cannot collect on until he's declared dead, which the statute in Oklahoma is 7 years of somebody missing. So by that point, our son will be grown. So that's not going to really help a whole lot with raising our son. So there are things that it does impact. So I'd be willing to work something out if we could.
Yeah, and it's clear from, despite maybe your marriage being in a separation, it's clear that you still care for him and want to know what happened to him. But also you have the kids to think about. How are they dealing with their dad not being around and just not having answers?
Yeah, absolutely. Greg was still, my best friend. Like I said, I've known him for over 20 years. And we've just gone through a lot so that several people wouldn't understand. My children, my daughters still say, where is daddy? I miss daddy. And so that's something that I have to deal with regularly. We've been in counseling. My son, he just doesn't really like to talk about it at all. So that's how he deals with it since he's a little bit older. So it's just something we really need a resolution to, so we can try to have closure and move on.
Well, hopefully somebody out there that's listening, maybe has some kind of information, a little nugget, something they heard or something that they can come forward with. And just if anybody does need awareness of the case or need to find out more about it, or are there any pages, social media pages or websites or anything like that for Greg's case?
We don't have a social media page on it at this time. But, anyone can feel free to reach out to me through Facebook. My profile's out there publicly, Billie Treace, Treace. If anybody has any information, they could also reach out to the Creek County Sheriff's Department in Oklahoma. Jason Hunt with Hunt Investigations has been an amazing resource for us, and his phone number is on our missing person flyers. So if anybody wanted to just give us information confidentially, they can reach out to him, and that information could be shared with us without, them feeling like there would be some danger. And that's another thing with, this person that could be responsible, having been in jail for the last 2 years. I don't know if they've talked to somebody in there, that could be getting out now, and they want to share that information. So we'd really appreciate it.
Well, hopefully somebody does have something, they'll come forward, and we'll definitely include all those different sources, Facebook, the investigators, the police. We'll put all of them in the show notes so people can find that stuff, and if they have any information, they'll know who to reach out to. But I want to thank you again, Billie, for coming on to talk about Greg's case, and I hope you and your family do get the answers that you deserve and find out exactly what happened here.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time and sharing our story.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Missing Persons. If you can provide any information to help solve the case we discussed in this episode, please contact the appropriate authorities.
If you enjoy this podcast, please take a moment to tell your friends about Missing Persons and invite them to listen to the show. Word of mouth will help us grow and bring these cases to a larger audience. You can also help us by taking a moment to rate and review Missing Persons on the platform you're listening to us now on. Just a reminder that new episodes of Missing Persons air every other Saturday. If you want to find us on social media, we're on Facebook at facebook.com/missingpersonspod. We're also on Twitter with the handle @missing_pod. And of course, you can find us and contact us through our website, missingpersonspodcast.com. On behalf of Jess Betancourt, this is Mike Morford saying thanks, and we'll see you next time on Missing Persons.
When it comes to Father's Day, dads want steak. And the experts at Omaha Steaks are making it easy for you to deliver uncompromising quality with gifts that are sure to make his day. Plus, get an extra $35 off with code THANKSDAD when you shop at omahasteaks.com today. But don't wait. Father's Day is June 15th. Shop now at omahasteaks.com and get an extra $35 off with code THANKSDAD. Minimum purchase may apply. See site for details.
If you're running a retail business, don't let disorganized order fulfillment cause chaos. Use ShipStation instead. From running a business out of your garage to multiple warehouses, ShipStation is ideal for every phase of your growth. Save time with one login for all your stores and by automating tasks. Plus, you'll get the best shipping rates from global carriers. Calm the chaos with the shipping software that delivers. Start a free trial at shipstation.com/audio. That's shipstation.com/audio.
We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Styles McKenzie helping you make those rooms sing. Today's style tip: when it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild, like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Arr, fierce. This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.